3 minutes or 5 minutes of time that you're waiting in line to get your coffee, you can zip through some emails and delete, all the spam mails or the junk. And that's saving you some time because you don't have to do that when you get back to your desk kind of thing. Or you're reading an article or you're catching up with a friend or whatever that might be. It's using those 5-minute moments. So the question sort of becomes, how many of these 5-minute moments does an executive have during the day? And I'm going to admit this is kind of fuzzy math, but run with me because it's just directionally important rather than quantifiably perfect, I guess. So if you got 3 times per day, you've got a 5-minute moment. That's 15 minutes per day, 5 days a week if you're not working on the weekends, which some of us do. And then 50 weeks a year, and I gave you a vacation of 2 weeks. So that's 62 and a half hours a year, which, for a 40-hour week, that's 1.5 standard work weeks anyways per year, where you're standing in line wasting time if you're not capturing that moment. Some people like to call it rest, but for some of the workaholics out there or time-starved managers, the truth of the matter is we do work in line at Dunkin' Donuts or Starbucks, right? So the question is, how do we capture those moments in the best way, and what's the right tool for the job? So we like to think of it in terms of the types of activity you're working on. It goes from simple to the medium complexity to the largely complex. And there's no way you're going to actually be able to have the full user experience because of the constraints of a particular device to be able to do the most complex things on your smartphone, for instance. So on my smartphone, I might have, if we narrow it down to the talent management or enterprise talent management world, you might have applications that do things like help move a workflow forward, approve a rec, approve a performance review as final or something like that, not actually typing it in. And then you've got the, at the other end of the spectrum, the really complex things, which is the things that a manager has to stop, sit down, think about it, log into your actual enterprise system. So you've got a web-based SaaS system. Hey, newsflash, it turns out managers don't like logging into systems all the time, and you kind of have to push them or get them out there in order to increase the adoption that you might get. So if you can do that, you can get them down and to do the major things. It's the yearly comp reviews, or it's the 10 appraisals that they procrastinated on or I'll do tomorrow and kind of thing. That's the kind of thing you might want to do in terms of a full, rich application interface. So between the complex and the simple, we believe there's a whole set of things that are what's coming here, an iPad, right? So are fit for a different device. It's a device that is easy on. You click it, it turns right on. It's not your Macintosh. You guys all saw me take 10 minutes to reboot my laptop. That doesn't happen with the iPad. It's on immediately. I can click on the app and I can be in the app in another 5 seconds, and then I can take actions. I can do things. And it might be something a little bit more involved than this. So let's talk about talent management specifically and kind of the evolution of talent management and where we've been, what we've gone through, and what we're getting to in order to try to talk about this idea of iPad applications inside of talent management. So you might have seen this slide before, but this is one that I like to do around the evolution of talent management. So years ago, depending on the silo of talent management you're talking about, would determine the time frame. But if you take a particular silo, all of those processes happened by themselves in a manual format or process. In other words, it was a PC-based form or a Lotus Notes application that was homegrown or something that was kludgy or clunky, prone to errors, all sorts of things, and it cost time and money, and usually was miserable, usually hard to get people to adopt. You run around chasing people around. So people saw the value in creating applicant tracking systems or learning management systems, or more recently performance and goal management systems and compensation systems. That is where they have a single functional HR silo that they are automating the process in terms of removing the errors, speeding up the process, standardizing the input of the data, and hopefully getting better results. The past few years, we've moved from this, which has gained great traction. We've been talking about it for about 6 or 7 years, but today we're really getting into the point where we're at integrated talent management. So you've got multiple customers out there in the marketplace who've deployed 3, 4, 5 different types of applications that are running over a single data model and are gaining the benefits of that single data model in terms of mixing the data, mixing the processes, and being able to do more than just the single silo of functional applications. And then finally, what we're moving into today, and which I think we have an early example of, is true talent decision support. Some people call it predictive analytics, some people call it workforce planning. There's a whole bunch of different labels to it, but whatever it is, it's basically supporting decisions around talent with actual data that we've gotten out of these systems now that they've been deployed for a few years. I'm actually jumping ahead of myself a little bit, but if you think in terms of all these functional silos of performance, comp, recruiting, succession, learning, what have you, and you think in terms of the processes running, every time they turn the process or you run a cycle, you're generating all sorts of data into this big cube that we like to call core data. So it's job data, it's position data, it's individual employee people data or candidate data. And as these processes go and go and go, you're basically generating this big ball of data, which I like to call the information snowball. If you've seen this slide before too. Essentially what it is it's a small set of data or a functional benefit that you get at the start of an implementation around integrated talent management that year over year is snowballing until you get much bigger payoff in terms of what you're able to do. Some immediate juice for the squeeze, but then the real payoff is in year 3, 4, 5, and so on kind of thing. So the output from all of that, what's it going to be? Today in our SaaS-based web applications, it's dashboards of information. This is reports or analytics or charts or things that you can drill down in the data where I can see progress against goals or competency gap analysis or goals by manager and level, salary allocation analysis, all this kind of thing that you can mix and match in different ways to be able to focus or tune a channel of information into specific managers based on the HR initiatives that you have going on inside of the organization, right? So here comes the big what if question, right? What if you could? What if you could take all of this data, which is sort of trapped inside of your system, because remember, you got to get a manager to log in to see this stuff. What if I could take this, and what if I could equip my senior leadership team with a dashboard that they could walk around with all the time, that updates daily, that they can play with the data in terms of the user experience that you get from a tablet computer in terms of pinching and swiping and swooping and all that kind of stuff that we all love to see Steve Jobs do. What if I could equip them and have them, give them the ability to, wherever they are, know the people that they're working with, learn more about them, dive deeper into the data, and then be able to take action on those, whether it's add a spot bonus reward, or it's to write a note that reminds them of something about the person that they met, or record a good thing or event on a person, or some coaching advice that they want to return and give them in a formal review later. What if they had that under their arm all the time, wherever they go, easy on and off, recapture those 5-minute moments? So the question before that is my talent management system ready to do that? I like to say this isn't Angry Birds. And what I mean by that is Angry Birds, fantastic, addictive game that it is actually an application that you just get on your iPhone, right? So you download it and it's unto yourself just that. Maybe you share scores with other people. But it's a client-based game, a smartphone-based client game. Talent management is enterprise software, and that has implications. You've got proprietary software in here that has all sorts of things that has to happen in terms of security, who sees what, how things are controlled in terms of results returned from a search, analytics results. People are only allowed to see what they're allowed to see for their particular span of control, and then some other allowances depending on their role, correct? So how do you get all that control that's inside of your platform and extend that out to this device that's walking around in taxi cabs and cities and foreign countries and things like that could be lost at any point? Security is of prime value. So this is a people fluent specific thing, but what we've done is we've extended the talent management platform, and all of the individual boxes in here are not necessarily important unless you want to go deeper into them later. But essentially it's taking all of the user provisioning, password management, all of the enterprise software controls and configurability that you have inside of your enterprise application that's web-based, and extending that out and making sure that it's still safe and packaged correctly for a mobile platform, right? We can return to more to that later. But let's talk specifically about Fluency on the Move. So Fluency on the Move is the beginning of an application suite of talent management apps for the iPad, eventually other tablet devices. But what they are is designed for a mobile tablet device, designed to elicit the natural curiosity you have to play with data and make a different way to interact with the data. So rather than transactional happenings that we were automating inside of the app where we're doing performance management or comp management, now we're looking at consuming data. So it's that middle complexity level in my pyramid that I showed you early. It's how do I consume the data to my own advantage? And being able to explore people inside the organization, explore candidates that are being considered for open recs that I have in my organization, and also being able to drill down into analytics that show me data that I might be able to, raise my fluency, so to speak, is what we're after here. So let's talk a little bit about the specific apps. So there's 4 apps initially. There'll be more eventually. The first is the Windows Explorer, the Explorer application, the Workforce Explorer application, which lets you drill down into your span of control. So it lets you see people inside your organization, open up the equivalent of a talent profile. We call it a talent book inside of this app, but elicit information about, get information about individual people. Then there's a candidate review app, and then also a compensation application. Also not shown here, but a few slides later, we're going to talk about a manager coaching tool, essentially a tool that a manager can use to understand basic policies and procedures for your organization, just in time kind of format. So let's jump to the demo, okay? So I'm gonna stop it here for now, and then we'll go on to that.